minutes. So I'll see. I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to break. But again, everything is going to be recorded. You can always go back to everything. The only lecture is going to be tonight. But this is an important session because before you guys start writing cases, obviously we want to make sure that we're on the same wavelength when it comes to, basically our instructions for, good habits to get into when you're writing cases. Please stop me if you have any questions. Just again, send chat. Please do not send anything in the Q&A. I'm not going to see that. If I ignore you, it's because I don't see it on my screen. All right. People, let's go. Let me just set up, sorry, just one little thing here. Give me 1 second. Okay, perfect. All right, let's go. Okay. The CFE, this is just really the basics. I apologize if this is really obvious for some of you, but the CFE is obviously 3 days. Now, people, day one, you guys already know because many people here, I know we have some repeat writers, but many people here have been in Capstone 1. We are not doing anything on Capstone 1. We are not doing anything for day one. We are not really training you for day one. From everything I understand, it's supposed to be a continuation of your Capstone 1 case. Take that with a bit of a grain of salt. What people said in the past CFE was that it wasn't so much a continuation. It was like basically, I don't know, 5 years later and then a whole new situation. So I'm not sure exactly how much they're basing it on the original Capstone 1, but it's not really, I think it's very difficult to study for this. What I keep saying, and I really believe this, is that if you can pass day 2 and day 3, which is what we're going to be training you for, you should be able to pass day 1. Day 1 is supposed to be easier. The statistics they've put out already for the CFE and past CFEs were higher for day 1 than they were for day 2 and day 3. In case you don't know this, they mark day 1 separately. Day 1 is a pass-fail. I don't know the marking scheme. They don't release it. They don't disclose it. I have no idea how you pass it. Like, I have no idea how they mark it. Day 2 and day 3, we're going to talk about that. I know the marking scheme. That they disclose. So the first day is 4 hours, continuation of Capstone 1, marked separately. Day 2, that's your comp. That's where you guys were choosing your role. Okay, and that's where I just asked you, okay, most people are doing assurance, but we do have a few people doing taxing. We do have a few people doing performance management. Also a few for finance and tax, but very few. The last day is probably going to be 3 questions. I say 3 or 4, but those are called multis. It's going to be 3, somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes. Okay, and you have 4 hours for day 3. Okay, any questions on the basic structure of the CFE? Everyone okay? All right, now, I'm sure many, if not all of you know this. This is an open book exam. You have the handbook and you have the tax act. Now, why is it open book? It's open book because it is not strictly testing you on knowledge. People, if they were testing you just on knowledge, okay, they would never give you the handbook. There's no way. What they are doing is trying to test you on whether or not you could be competent. So everything revolves around that word, competencies. The key is how you apply your knowledge. That's what they're interested in. We used to have a technical exam, we don't have it anymore. We used to have a technical exam that was testing 100 multiple choice questions called the CKE. They never gave people the handbook. That would have been really useful. In today's exam, it's not as useful, although the truth is, I think nowadays a lot of people are flipping it open and looking at it a little bit. The problem is time. That's the problem. You don't have a lot of excess time. Now, you should have less of a time constraint. I could have said this on the previous slide. You should have less of a time constraint in the comp, in the 5-hour comp. That question is designed for 4 hours. They call it a 4-hour question, but they give you 5 hours. The reason for that is over the years, you don't really have to know this history, but over the years, they had many, many complaints that the comp was too lengthy. So it used to be 4 hours. They started to reduce it year after year. They started to bring it down. It used to be 4 hours and somewhere around 25 pages. There was even a comp that was 30. So people were going crazy. Everybody was screaming at the board saying, like, what are you doing? Okay, this is not a reading test. English may not be your first language. So people every year were getting mad at them saying, you got to reduce the number of pages. So they started to bring it down. Finally, about, I don't remember when, 8 or 9 years ago, they said, we're going to give people an extra hour, and we're not going to increase the size of the comp. And the truth is, they did that. In fact, I wouldn't recommend, don't waste time doing this, but you can check it out yourself. Find the year of the UFE when it was 4 hours, and find the next year when it was 5 hours, and compare the size of the exam. You could do it. I could go back and do it if I wanted. Again, it's kind of a waste of time because I know the answer, but I mean, I could do it. And you'll see they did not really increase the size. The idea was not to increase the size and give you an extra hour and just increase the length. That would be ridiculous. The idea was to give you more time. Unfortunately, on the third day for the multis, you do not have a lot of extra time. Those questions are designed for the number of minutes it says at the beginning of each question. 60 minutes is a 60-minute question. 80 minutes is an 80-minute question. They purposely, and not only that, but they actually say it at the beginning of the CFE, okay, when the book or the PDF file comes out, they're actually saying that they know you're time constrained. It's a complaint, everybody complains. Okay, you don't have enough time. So I'm just throwing that out there. You will be more time constrained on day 3 than day 2. Okay? I'm not saying you won't be time constrained on day 2. I'm just saying you're going to be more on day 3. All right. So what this exam is doing is it's testing you on how to apply the knowledge. You may have to look up. I got into the whole discussion on time because we're talking about looking up something in the handbook. You know, I will tell you, when this first started being open book, we've been teaching this for many years. When this first started being open book, I was speaking to most people, and most people were not looking at the handbook. Since then, the exam has got more technical. I think now I've changed my tune a little bit. I think you probably will end up looking up stuff. The Tax Act is basically useless. It used to have a function. It doesn't anymore. It used to be they would let you bring in a hard copy Tax Act and handbook. And I always said to people, you know, that's good because in case there's a big win, okay, on your notes or something, you can have the Tax Act sitting on your notes and they won't blow off your table. That was basically the function of the Tax Act. Today, it doesn't even have that function. So, no, I don't know what you're going to do with the Tax Act, okay? I don't think you're going to do anything with the Tax Act. But the handbook, you very well may look up something. All right. Any questions? Everyone okay? All right. So we have 6 competencies. What are our 6 competencies? You guys know what the 6 competencies are. Oh, sorry, I have a question here, people. I'm going to try and deal with questions as I go through, obviously. Someone wants to know about day 1. So, Chrissy, I really want to stay away from giving advice on day 1. I do believe you are less time constrained on day 1. But I'll be honest, I don't want to give advice on day 1 because we're not including it in the whole program. I'm not up on day 1. You should have enough of an idea of day 1 from the 7 or 8 weeks you guys were in Capstone 1. That's really the reason. We just didn't feel we could add value to it. So, you know, I don't hear of major time constraints in day 1. Okay, but take that with a bit of a grain of salt. All right, couple of quick things, people. Look at the 6 competencies. Okay, where's IT? IT, information technology, does not have a separate competency. It comes up, it's in the competency map. Where's IT going to come up? Probably assurance or maybe management accounting. I will tell you an interesting thing, which could actually impact you guys. They are not happy with the way IT is being tested. They feel it's not coming up enough. They want to expand it in the competency map. This is not going to affect you guys because obviously your competency map is set. The time, right, the deadline for the CFE is December 31. They're not changing it for you guys. I'm just telling you that IT, they feel, is not being tested sufficiently, and they are going to be doing a whole revision on the competency map, and I've already heard one of the things they're going to do is they're going to be increasing IT. Okay, that doesn't really, I don't know if that really helps you or not. I'm just telling you it's not, basically, it's not its own competency, and at the moment, it's not being tested very much. The other thing, just so you know this and don't get confused, look at number 6, strategy and governance. The people doing performance management on day 2, that is the same as strategy and governance. It has a different name, okay? Don't ask me why. For all of you doing assurance on day number 2 or tax or finance, okay, for you, the only name you have to know is strategy and governance. For those people that said to me they're doing performance management, I don't know why they have 2 separate names here, but performance management is the name of strategy and governance on day 2. On day 3, it's not called performance management, it's called strategy and governance. Okay. Now, people, this could be important a little bit, so do me a favor and kind of focus on this. Everybody should have a copy of the competency map. If you don't have that, you can download it from the Institute's website. I'm sure most of you have seen it already. In the competency map, they lay out everything at the core level or the elective level. Now, people, look, I'll tell you, this is probably the most useful thing of the whole competency map. Financial reporting, management accounting, you have to know at the elective level. Either of those 2 things will come up on day 2. The role you're choosing on day 2, you have to know at the elective level, the higher level. So if you're choosing assurance, you have to know assurance at the elective level on day 2. If you're choosing performance management, you got to know performance management at the elective level. Someone says they can't hear me, okay? Usually that's the individual's problem, or I get a whole bunch of these. Am I still coming through? Sometimes there's a blip or something. Can everybody else hear? Just a few of you, I don't know, some of you say yes, you can still hear. Okay, good. All right, thank you. All right, let me just tell this person, please check your sound. Okay, give me 1 second, guys. Let me just respond to this person who is telling me they're having a problem hearing. Give me 1 second. Okay, just 1 sec. Okay, hopefully that person can now hear me. Okay, so at the elective level, you have to know financial accounting, financial reporting, and you have to know management accounting, and you have to know the role you're choosing on day 2. For the other 3 areas, whether again tax, finance, performance, whichever one you're not taking on day 2, for the other 3 areas, you have to know at the core level. There are certain things you don't have to know if you look at the competency map and see what's tested at the core level. So to me, this is literally probably the most important thing in the whole competency map. Don't waste time studying something at the elective level if you're not choosing it as your depth area in day 2. So for example, I did not have one person here tell me they're choosing tax, okay, to all of you listening to this session. So you know what? There's a bunch of stuff at the tax elective level. Don't waste time learning. Rollovers, amalgamation, stuff like that, forget it. Okay, forget it. That's not going to come up on day 3. Now, if you're writing tax on day 2 as your role, okay, fine, you better learn that. So just look at the competency map and make sure that you're not wasting time learning something at the elective level if you're only writing day in the last, if you're not doing the role on day 2. Financial accounting, management accounting is at the elective level. Okay, I have someone is asking for me to repeat that. Okay, very briefly. The competency map divides everything up into the core level and the elective level. The elective level is a higher level. Financial accounting, management accounting, you have to know everything. But if you're choosing assurance, Ryan, on your second day, if you're choosing assurance, you have to know assurance, if that's your role, at the elective level. I'll give you an example I didn't say before. Reporting, special reports. This applies to most people that are listening to me now. Special reports are at the elective level. If you are not choosing assurance on day 2, don't waste time learning the differences between the special reports. You know, 805, 9100. Those are the section numbers. Don't bother learning that if you're doing performance management on day 2. That will not come up on day 3 because that is at the elective level. So you should look at but if you're writing assurance, like most people here are writing assurance, that's when they're going to test it on day 2. So you should know the difference between the special reports for sure. That, you know, that has a very high probability of coming up in the comp on day 2. So all I'm saying is look at the competency map, see what they want you to know at the elective level, and then you can ignore it unless it's financial accounting, management accounting, or your day 2 role. Okay, I have a question here. For day 3, what level should we know? No, I keep saying. Financial reporting and management accounting at the elective level, everybody. That is going to be tested because that's coming up on day 2 also. One of the 2 of them is coming up on day 2. So you need to know that at the elective level. It's only for the other 3 areas that you're not choosing your role on day 2. Okay? All right, now, this is less important. I'll mention it, but whatever, it's less important. I'm just going to say this quickly. In the competency map, there's a million A, B's, and C's. They're different levels. C is the lowest level. Okay, A is the highest level. I do not think this is particularly important. Hopefully nobody's listening to this that works for the Institute. Okay, I'm sure they wouldn't be happy when I say this. The reason I don't think this is so important, and what I just said previously is more important, nobody goes into this exam worrying about level A, B, and C. At the end of the day, this is how it plays out. But nobody's sitting there in a case trying to figure out if something is A, B, and C. It's true, if something is at level C, you don't have to know it as well as level A. But I'm just saying, I'm just explaining, okay, that you know, throughout the competency map, you're going to see A, B, and C on every single page of the whole competency map, and that's what they're getting at here. But it's not something I'd really waste time looking at, or no, it doesn't really matter. Okay, nobody's answering cases and referring back to this. Okay, I'm just explaining it because it comes up all over the place in the competency map. Now, people, let's talk about marking. This, I think, is important. I realize you guys are not exactly marking, you're writing, but I think you have to understand how they mark day 2 and day 3. What they do, and I'm sure everyone here knows this, they classify everything into these so-called assessment opportunities, and you want to try and hit every single one. What they do is they rank you in one of these 5 categories of performance. I'll answer the question, Irving, in a second. Not addressed, nominal, reaching, competent, competent with distinction. Okay. Not addressed, useless. Nominal, useless. Reaching, not bad, it counts. I'll show you in a minute how it counts. Competent, better, 2 check marks. Competent with distinction, I'll say 2 check marks, it's equal to competent. I'll explain that in a minute. The whole goal of passing this exam is for you to get to reaching, and better for you to get to competent in as many assessment opportunities as possible. Okay? We'll talk about competent with distinction in a minute. That's the goal. For every assessment opportunity, they're going to rank you in one of these. All right, now I have a question here. Which columns should I look in competency map for non-electives, which will be tested on day 3? When it says core, remember the answer is core. Okay, when it says core, that's the level of day 3. The core level. All right. Now, people, let's talk about the passing profile. Okay. Whoever invented this had a lot of time on their hands because I think it's complicated, but it's not that complicated, but it takes me 5 minutes to go through. All right. Level 1, the way this works, you have to get through each level to get to the next level. Level 1, what they do here, they call this the sufficiency level. I'm going to use numbers, okay? So just follow me here. I'm going to use numbers. It's not 100% accurate. They don't disclose this, but I've heard things over the years. Let's pretend they give you 2 marks for reaching competent and 4 marks for competent. In every assessment opportunity, if you get reaching competent, you get 2, and for competent, you get 4. Not addressed, 0. Nominal, 0. Competent with distinction, 4. No incentive, 4. Same as competent. Okay. What they do in level 1 is they add up all the marks. They add up all the marks, 0, 2, 4, add up all the marks for all the assessment opportunities, and then they pick a passing mark, and if you get that mark or above, you move to level 2. If you don't, you fail on level 1. Now, let me give you an example how you can visualize this. Some people do better with a picture. Pretend you have an Excel spreadsheet, I don't know, 4,000 names going down. Across, let's have, let's say 35 assessment opportunities. For each one, I want 5 columns. Not addressed, nominal, reaching, competent, competent with distinction. Fill in the marks. Okay, fill in the marks, 0, 2, 4, 0. Add them up on the right side and do a sort. Take your top 85%, wherever number that is, and those people move to level 2. I don't know exactly if it's 85%, but it might be around 85%, maybe even 90%. I don't know. So as long as you fall in the top 85%, you move to level 2. If you're unsuccessful, I may have some repeat writers here. If you're unsuccessful and you failed level 1, they give you a decile. 1 is the best, 10 is the worst. If you get a 1, that means you were very close to passing level 1. Maybe you were 1 or 2 assessment opportunities away where instead of getting reaching, you got nominal. Or instead of getting competent, you got reaching. You were a few marks away. The lower the decile, the more you were away on different assessment opportunities. They call this the sufficiency level because what they're doing here is they're simply adding up all the assessment opportunities for day 2 and day 3. That's what they're doing. And they're taking a mark, and then they're moving you to level 2. Any questions on level 1? Level 2. Okay, we get to level 2. Now they're looking at financial accounting or management accounting. Okay, what they're doing now is they're not giving marks. They want to make sure that you guys can get competent a certain number of times. How many? We don't know. This is a highly guarded secret. They do not disclose. The markers don't know. Only a few people who actually mark. Your average marker has no idea. You have to get competent, not in both. Better in both, but you don't have to. You have to get competent in at least financial accounting a number of times, or management accounting a number of times. No marks, just competent, or of course, when I say competent people, I mean competent with distinction also, obviously. That counts as well. But minimum competent. Now, let's play with some numbers. Let's pretend, how many financial accounting assessment opportunities will there be day 2 and day 3? Anybody want to guess? How many do you think? How many assessment opportunities do you think? It's better if we deal with some numbers here. I'm not getting any guesses. No guesses? All right. Okay, Ryan, a little high. I see a 12, I see an 11. Okay, I see an 8. Okay, I think 8 is around the ballpark. I think it's probably about 8. Maybe about 8 assessment opportunities in financial accounting. No, we're talking day 2 and day 3 combined. For financial accounting, management accounting, I figure about 8, maybe 7, maybe 6. That'll be the lowest. So what they're saying is, if financial accounting comes up 8 times, they're going to say, did you get competent in X number? What's X? People, you know what? If it comes up 8 times, it's not going to be below. It's not going to be below 3. It's either going to be 3, 4, or 5. 6 is going to be too many, and 2 is going to be too little. So I don't know the answer, but I can tell you it's going to be somewhere around the 50%, plus or minus 1. That's usually, it's going to be somewhere around there. Now, it does not matter what you get in the other assessment opportunities for level 2. If financial accounting comes up 8 times, and I need 3, and let's say I need 4. I need 4 competence. If the other 4 you got nominal, you pass level 2. Now, for those people listening to this lecture who are doing who are doing public accounting, you have to get competent in financial accounting. And if you don't, you'll still pass if you get competent in management, but you're going to have to take another exam in financial accounting. For those people doing public accounting, you will need to get competent in financial accounting, and if not, they're going to have another exam. It'll be much easier on financial accounting. I don't know if they've developed it yet, but I think they're in the process of doing this. But that's only if you're doing public accounting. If you're not doing public accounting, doesn't matter. You won't have to take any exam. It doesn't matter where you pass. If you are doing public accounting, you need financial accounting, but not to pass this exam. You can be in public accounting, and you can get your competence in management accounting. That's perfectly fine. Okay? It's an or. I know you can't see it. I crossed it out here, but in here I can write it in. It's an or, one of the 2. That is level 2. Question, what if at level 2, I pass financial accounting, but I fail? Yeah, okay, management. There is no overall impact. You got through level 1. You got competent in financial accounting level 2. You go to level 3. That's it, no impact. No impact. Okay, you're fine. All right, level 3. You know that little role that you guys are choosing? Most of you are choosing assurance, but I've got some people here, performance management. Same as level 2. They're going to force you to get competent on day 2 a certain number of times. So how many are there going to be in day 2? Assessment opportunities? About 8. Maybe 7. Probably 8. So of those 8, if I choose assurance, I've got 8 opportunities. I've got 8 opportunities in day 2. I got to get competent a certain number of times. How many? I don't know. 3, 4, 5. They don't disclose it. Now, I will say one interesting thing here. People, I know what it says here. We can all read it. it says this is only for day 2. This always surprises me, okay? I'm going to answer the question in a second. This always surprises me because what they're saying here is that if you get a competence in day 3, let's say I choose assurance for day 2, and I get a competence in day 3, they're saying that's not going to count for level 3. I find that very weird. I find that weird. I'm not convinced they wouldn't count it. I'm now contradicting what it says here. This is from the document that they put out, the Institute. I don't know. They say it's only day 2. I just find it weird. They could argue that day 2 they're testing you at the higher level. So they want you to get competent at the higher level. Maybe. It's not such a big difference in assurance, but anyway. All right, let me go. People, I got a number of questions here. I'm just going to go in order of the questions, so do me a favor, have just 2 minutes of patience. If I don't get your question, I will get to it. Okay, and Keith, you're asking, there'll be both opportunity exam for financial and management, of course. And Keith, in the exam, you will have, I'm not saying the same number, but in the exam, there will be somewhere between 6 and 8 financial accounting assessment opportunities and management accounting. Interestingly, they may not be equal. They may not be equal. I don't think this past September they were equal. But you will have to get a certain number of competence. But if they're not equal, maybe you have to get fewer competence. We don't know. If there's only 6 assessment opportunities in day 2 and day 3, let's say for management accounting, maybe you only need 3. But if there's 8, maybe you need 4. So I'm just saying to you, it does not have to be the same total number of financial accounting and management accounting assessment opportunities. Okay, next question. Can you explain? Oh, yeah, somebody wants me to explain again level 1. All right, so again, just without going into the whole long thing, level 1, they give you a mark for reaching competent or competence and competent with distinction. And they add up all those marks for every assessment opportunity, and they pick a number of which you have to get a total number that moves you into level 2. So it means you have to get enough reaching competence and enough competence in total on day 2 and day 3 to move to level 2. You got to get that minimum mark, whatever they pick behind the scenes, and they don't disclose it. Somebody wants to know the historical passing rate for day 2, day 3 from the time they start the CFE. Chrissy, it's about 80%. It's somewhere, actually, no, it's a little lower. I'm not sure. Okay, I might be off by a little bit. If anybody knows it, I don't remember now. I should know this. They just disclosed it. They never used to disclose it. It just came out with statistics. Okay, it might be 75%. It's somewhere around there. Okay, it's somewhere around there. We don't have a history before that because they stopped disclosing it. They used to disclose it years ago. But again, I think it's 75, 80%, somewhere around there. Somebody's asking, how many of the 8 do you need to have RC or C? No. Ryan, for level 2 and level 3, RC is useless. You need competent. That is them testing you on the depth. That's why it says deep for both of these. You need competent or competent with distinction for level 2 and level 3 to count. Not RC. That buys you nothing for level 2 and level 3. Okay, that doesn't make sense since day 2 because we don't have right. I agree with you, Navini. Okay, fine. Ryan, yes, it could be 6, it could be 8. I don't know exactly the number. And yes, between the 2 days, no. 1 second, not between the 2 days. For level 2, it's definitely day 2 and day 3. Yes, for level 2 is definitely day 2 and day 3. For level 3, it's only day 2. And Keith, oh, 100% yes. And Keith is asking, are we supposed to answer both AOs? Yes, you want to hit every single assessment opportunity. Because how are you going to pass level 1? Level 1, they add up all the assessment opportunities. If you miss a whole bunch of them, you're going to have a hard time getting through level 1. You want to do as well as you can in every single assessment opportunity. Okay, another question. If we're going to the public accounting stream with depth and assurance, how important is MA? Look at people. Every assessment opportunity is important because of level 1. But I don't need, if I get my depth in financial accounting in level 2, I could do poorly in management accounting. It's going to hurt me if I don't get through level 1. But if you say to me, I got through level 1, I got my depth in financial accounting in level 2, good. Then the truth is you don't have to do as well in management accounting in level 2. The problem is I still didn't explain level 4. So there is one little impact on level 4. Let me just explain level 4. Okay, let me just see if there's one other question here I'll answer before I do level 4. Just 1 second. And I'll continue with that answer in a second. What if we get competent? No. Okay, it's a good question. Ada is asking, what if I get competent twice in financial and 3 times in management? Can the aggregate work? No. No. You would fail because you did not get competent in either financial or management. So the answer is no. It is not an aggregate. Oh, Sandeep just gave me the passing percentage. Thank you, 76.3%. Okay, fine. Very good. Yeah, Ryan was saying it was 67, then it went up. People, when you look at these, okay, so Ryan, it's a good point. When you look at the passing percentage, ignore the first year. I'm telling you now, ignore the first year. They put statistics out, okay, for the first year and the next one, ignore the first year. The first year is not historically representative of anything. It was low because it was the first year. The 76% is much more representative. I don't care if the first year was lower. I know it was lower. I don't care. The answer is published CPA Canada website, right? Yeah, the statistics are public, people. You can see it from the CPA website. Very good. Okay, Ryan, if you have 8, no, Ryan. If you have 8 assessment opportunities, you have to hit a certain number of competent, not all 8. I don't know the number. It'll be 3, 4, or 5. I don't know the number. Okay, okay, fine. Okay. Are these slides posted on the website? Okay, Zoe, that's a good question. I don't think so. I don't think we handed out these slides. They're not going to be posted. They're not going to be posted on the website, but you'll have the recording. So you can look at all the slides. Actually, what am I saying? Zoe, I think the slides are in your, I'm sorry. Zoe, the slides are not posted on the website. They're posted in your, they're in your binder. I'm sorry. The slides are in your binder. Okay, people, to finish this off, got to move here. Okay, level 4. Level 4 is you have to get reaching competent probably once in every competency. You have to get reaching competent once in every competency. Now, I'm saying once. I don't know if it's once or twice. I'm not sure. They don't disclose it. They call this breadth, broad enough. Why? Because this is not used as a cutoff. By the way, how many people you think fail at level 4? You know percent? Probably. I don't think they disclose it. But you know percent? I don't know, 1%, 2%, less. Hardly any. Why so few? Why do they need level 4? Anyone guess the answer? Why do they need level 4? They're not using it to cut people out. Hardly anybody gets cut out. Why not just pass you after level 3? Jonathan, yes, you're right. You need a broad accounting knowledge, okay? Someone is telling me they actually, okay, 1 second. Okay, someone is saying they failed in strategy and governance, but they passed all the others. But Okay, my question to you would be, are you telling me you passed level 1, 2, and 3 and you failed only at level 4? Or are you telling me that when you got your results, in addition to failing one of the other levels, you also failed strategy and governance in level 4? That's my question. Very few people fail at level 4 and pass the other 3 levels. Sometimes you fail at one of the other levels, and they also, right. So that is not, it's not uncommon to fail at level 1, 2, or 3, and also goof on, and not do well at level 4 for one of the areas. All right, people, there's a very important point here. I'm asking that question for a reason. If you did not have to get reaching competence in every single competency, guess what I'd be saying? I'd be saying, you know what? If you really hate one of the areas, let's pick on tax. I don't think anybody said they're doing tax. You know what I'd be saying? If you really hated tax, why don't you skip it? How many times is tax going to come up? You're not choosing it as your role, obviously, you hate it. How many times will tax come up in day 3? How many assessment opportunities? Maybe 4. Okay. Are you telling me I couldn't get through level 1, even if I bombed 4 assessment opportunities? For sure I could. People, not only could you get through level 1, you could be in the honor roll. There's like 35, 33 assessment opportunities. If you did well on 29 out of 33, you'd ace the thing. Level 2, no tax. Level 3, no tax. I'm not choosing it as my role. So what's to prevent me from skipping an area I don't like? Level 4, you would fail because you did not get region confident at least once because you skipped it every time. The reason level 4 is here is for what I just said. And interestingly, I'll tell you something I realized afterwards, because I was kind of funny. They actually, level 4 applies to every competency, including financial accounting and management accounting. Why? Why? You know why? Because if you were crazy and you said something like, please don't do this, but if you said, I love financial accounting, I hate management accounting, I'm going to go for depth in financial accounting on level 2. That's where I'm going to get my depth. I'm not good at management accounting. I'll skip management accounting. Now, people, the reason that is so nuts is you probably would fail level 1. Because management accounting is going to come up a lot of times, more than tax. It's going to come up 6, 7, 8 times. So that'd be a crazy strategy. But if you did that without level 4, and you were lucky enough to get through level 1, you could literally write this exam and skip management accounting. That's why level 4 comes in. Even in management accounting, you need a minimum region. That's the reason. So level 4 is not to be worried about, but people, the important message is you cannot skip a competency. You must get a minimum of reaching competence in every single competency, or else you could fail on level 4 after having passed level 1, 2, and 3. Very few people will fail at level 4. I mean, who pass the first 3 levels. Yes, people who fail level 1 or level 2 could fail level 4 in one area or whatever, fine. But that's not what failed them. What failed them is level 1, 2, or 3 that comes before. I'm talking about somebody who passed level 1, 2, and 3 and then failed on level 4. That is very sad, because that means they were so close, but they just did not get reaching competence. And yes, in those cases, most people end up petitioning, not that they win, but that's when most people end up petitioning. Okay. Any questions, people? That is the passing profile. I don't know how long that took me, but all right. We're okay? Okay. People, what we're doing in this course, we are focusing on case writing. If you didn't already know that. We are not really teaching technical. Believe me, we're going to cover technical stuff when we do the cases. Okay, we go into a decent amount of technical, trust me. But we're assuming that hopefully you guys have your technical knowledge. That's what we're assuming. You know, we have people that you know, enroll in this course, and at the same time they take, you know, financial accounting, they enroll in the program, and they take financial accounting, management accounting. They want to review the technical. Those are the two most important areas. So obviously you can do that. We have other stuff on the website if you want technical. I don't have time in this course to do technical. So what are we doing in the non-case writing days outside of today, like an introduction, and tomorrow an introduction? What we're doing is we teach techniques. That's not technical. We're going to try and show you good habits to get into to help you move up the levels. You've just seen the whole passing profile. Your job is to get as many reaching and better as many competence as possible. Oh, I actually forgot an important point which I didn't mention before. People, how come I don't love competent with distinction? How come I don't emphasize competent with distinction? They mark it the same way as competent. Right, very good. Okay, Jonathan, okay, excellent. A bunch of you are saying it. I won't read on everyone who's saying it, but everyone who's saying this, very good. It's true they don't give you any extra marks, but there is a big downside with competent with distinction, competent, I don't remember the name, competent with distinction. The problem is you waste time to get it. It kills your time budget. It buys you nothing, but it wastes time. Now, people, if you're going for a medal, or if you're going for the honor roll, go for competent with distinction, and as long as you can do it and still do well on everything in the case, I've got no problem. Go ahead, make yourself happy. Go for competent with distinction, fine. But in real life, for most people, someone who ends up getting competent, you know, distinction on one assessment opportunity, they bomb a bunch of others. They kill their time budget. And there's no bonus. That's the problem. Okay. I don't waste time getting into this slide. I'm just going to quickly tell you, there is a case writing methodology that the Institute puts out. It's very consistent with what we do. This is their methodology. I'm never going to mention it after this slide. There's nothing we do that contradicts it. Okay, I'm just telling you, you may have seen it before, in case anybody's wondering what the heck it is or something like that, or how our approach ties into this. Nothing, we don't contradict any of this. I call this, they call it assess situation, I call it identify the issue, analyze the issue, conclude, find the mindset. That's like your, I don't know, your professional rules of ethics. That's, by the way, what the mindset means. Your communication skills, I'm going to talk about that. And everything has a basis of your technical knowledge. They call that the CPA way. Okay, lovely. Okay. People, what I want to get into now, I know I'm going to have to take a break. I got to go a little more. I'm going to try and finish off a lot of the lecture, then we'll take a break. And again, I have to start the case tonight. I can't leave the whole thing for tomorrow night. I won't have, I just won't have enough time. Okay. Let's talk about reading and planning the case, and then I'll talk about some tips on writing the case. All right, let's go. Let's talk about reading and planning. Now, important points. I think you have to do an outline for every case. Why? They don't mark the outline. Now, people, let's talk about some basics. How do you do the outline? Do you do it on the computer, or do you do it by writing? They give you scrap paper. I think they give you something like some type of scrap paper. You can do the outline on the paper, and you don't hand it, well, you hand it in, but they don't mark it. Okay, for some reason, you know, for security purposes, don't ask me, they don't want you to take anything out of the exam room. So they collect it, then they throw it out. Okay? They don't let you take anything out, but they don't mark the outline. If you do it on the computer, they don't mark it. It's not fair. They're not going to mark yours, okay, and not mark someone else's that did it by hand. Is there an advantage to doing it on the computer or handwritten? I personally prefer handwritten. Do you know why? This is just my preference. I prefer handwritten because I think it's easier when you're reading the case to have when you're writing the case, when you're writing the case, you have the outline in front of you and you can look at it as you're writing your answer. If you do it on the computer, you have to keep scrolling up. It's not a big deal. People, I don't care. It's not a big deal. I think statistically, I heard this a couple years ago, statistically, about 2/3 of the candidates do the outline on paper, handwritten. It doesn't matter. If you don't want to handwrite it, okay, that's just my advantage. Okay, do it on the computer. Some people don't like to write anything. That's fine. Okay? All right, now, why am I doing this? They're not marking it. Here's your reasons. It helps you keep track of facts. People read these things, they get nervous, they forget things. You write it down, you remember it. It's a roadmap. You don't forget. So an outline is, we're going to talk about that. I'll show you a list in a second. I won't waste time now going through it. We'll talk about what to include in an outline. But the outlines are important. A good outline is really going to help you. And yes, we will do this, not in every case, by the way. We're not going to do it in every case take-up. It takes too long. We do it in some and not in others. We try to mix it up a little bit. But yes, of course, we're going to go through these case take-ups and we're going to talk about how to prepare the outline. How much time do I spend reading and planning my answer? We always say 1/3 to 1/4. So people, I don't know, I usually say as high as 1/3. 90 minutes, I'm at 25, 30 minutes. Reading and planning. That is my rule of thumb for all cases. Okay? Now, by the way, I didn't say this before. People, you do realize the exam is not on the computer. It's hard copy in a booklet, similar to what you guys have in your binder. I didn't explain everything in the binder. Maybe I should have done at the beginning. People, all your exams are sitting in one tab. I believe it's tab, what tab is it? It's in tab 7. Okay, all the exams are in tab 7. And the other thing, actually, people, I forgot to explain to you is before we do comp number 1, we want you guys to watch a video, and we have the notes in tab number 6. You're supposed to do that before comp number 1. I'll probably send an email or something like that, but I'm just saying now. So all the exams are in tab 7, and we have dates on the exam of when you're supposed to, that's when the take-up is. The dates are on the exam, and then the solutions are in tab 8, 9, 10, and 11. There's 4 exams, there's 4 tabs following. Okay, so in the real exam, the exam itself is in a booklet. Now, one other thing, I have a question I'll answer in a second, one other thing. They started to do this a couple years ago. In the comp, on day 2, they're giving you financial statements in Excel. In addition to being in the book, they're giving you financial statements in Excel in case you want to manipulate the financial statements. Not on day 3, because day 3, you don't get financial statements for every question. Almost every single comp has always had financial statements. Maybe I can find one exception, who cares? Okay, but you still have the whole booklet hard copy. All right, question. How many pages is day 2 case in terms of planning? So if it's 5 hours long, that would be over an hour of planning. Yeah, that's exactly right. Okay, first of all, you're asking me how many pages. Day 2, I don't know, probably around somewhere between 20, 25 pages. It's a little deceptive. Spencer, it's a little deceptive because I don't want to get into this now, but in day 2, they include all the rules for everybody. but you only have to read your role. So don't tell me day 2 is 40 pages, okay? Yeah, it's 40 pages, but you're not reading 40 pages. You're reading 23, 25, I don't know, somewhere around there. The other point that was just made, which is true, someone is saying, does that mean day 2, your planning is over an hour? Are you kidding? You're planning on day 2 to be somewhere around, I'd say 90 minutes, 80 minutes, 100 minutes. Yes, you have 300 minutes. You should be planning day 2 somewhere 90, 100 minutes. Now people, I should have said this before, but a lot of what I'm doing tonight is going to apply for both day 2 and day 3, but some of it's only going to be day 3. We have another session which we want you to listen to before you write the comp, day 2, and that you're going to listen to on your own. We have a video, we have a tape of that, okay? Most of what I'm saying applies for both days, okay? But the time budget, okay, is a little different for day 2, around 100 minutes, 80 minutes, 90 minutes. You'll see that in that video. Okay. If you, people look, if you underline anything on the paper itself, the question paper, or if you put something in the margin, you're not allowed to leave the exam taking the paper out. They collect it and trash it. Just realize whatever you write on the paper itself is not going to be marked. All they're doing is collecting your USB key. They collect the questions, they throw them out. So I like underlining. I like putting stuff on the question itself, but they're not marking it. Just realize that. So he's asking, you said the financial statements in Excel? Yes, financial statements are in Excel on day 2 for the comp only. Day 3, you don't get financial statements for half the time for the questions, and if you do, they're not giving it to you as far as I know on Excel. All right, these are things you put into the outline. I'm not going to waste time now. People, we're going to be doing this for all of the questions. Okay, don't worry about it. You don't have to memorize this. We're going to do this tonight and tomorrow night also when we get into the question. Okay. Now, people, let's talk about some important points. I know, again, I'm going to have to move. I'm going to have to get into a break here. Just give me a few more minutes. Let me just get through some of these slides, okay? Because this now gets really important for stuff for case writing. All right. Does everybody see the slide in front of you here? Slide number 17. Probably the most important slide in the whole lecture. There's 3 types of required. Number 1, there's something called Number 1, there's an explicit required. Many requireds are explicit. On day 2, the comp, probably every required is going to be explicit. You got to answer them all. Day 3, they may not all be explicit, they won't be, but many of them actually still will be. Everybody loves explicit requires, so ask you to do something, everyone's happy. But then you got number 2. You have an implicit required. By the way, every example I'm showing you here is from a UFE or CFE. I need input from you regarding all financial matters. I call that implicit. What financial matters? I got to read the rest of the case. I don't know. I'd appreciate us drafting a separate report assessing IE's proposal. What proposal? Probably sitting in one exhibit. Better read it. I don't even know which competencies I'm in here. That's implicit. Okay. The hardest one by far is a big picture. There is no required. It's not directly asked for. I can't show you a sentence in the case. That's a big picture. Example, maybe somebody's committing fraud, but they don't say it explicitly. You have to figure out they're doing something wrong, and therefore you have to discuss it. You're going to get a few big picture requirements. They continue to test this. They've been testing it for years. This is the worst one. People always have problems. We'll give you some examples in the cases we give you, but I will tell you now, number 3 is going to be the hardest. The good news is they don't give that many of them. It is what it is, and hopefully by the end of the course, you're going to be better at picking up the big picture. Somebody's asking, which is a good point, going concern. Could that be big picture? Could be. That's another excellent example. Very good point. They give you going concern, but they don't tell you. They expect you guys to pick up the company's going concern because they're doing so horribly. That could be a big picture. Yep. Now, people look. The reason, why am I saying this is the most important slide in the whole lecture? You've seen the marking scheme. Okay, you saw the marking scheme. It's all based on doing well in the assessment opportunities. I am not going to tell you flat out that every required is a one-to-one relationship between the required and the assessment opportunity, but it's extremely close. What I mean by that, you get a required, you got an assessment opportunity. Now, people, it's not one-to-one 100% because it could be 1-to-2, it could be 1-to-3. I could get a required that leads to 2 assessment opportunities. There's no law. Or, let me go the other way. Big picture, there's no assessment opportunity. So, everybody get this. You can get an assessment opportunity with no required. That would be more of a big picture. You could get an assessment opportunity, okay, with directly a required. That's typical. Or you could get 2 or 3 assessment opportunities for 1 required. But everything, with the exception of big picture, moves off the required. So when you miss a required, you blow away assessment opportunities. Go back to the marking scheme. That's not good. I don't want you to blow away assessment opportunities. Okay, question. What if we miss implicit or big picture? Don't even know how to answer that. The question is, what if I miss a big picture? Look, you saw the passing profile. Telling me you missed a big picture, when you know what that says to me? I don't know. You're going to blow an assessment opportunity, at least 1. Is that a big deal? I don't know. You heard the passing profile. You heard the passing profile. Obviously, you can pass this exam by blowing a few assessment opportunities. You don't have to get every single one, competent or reaching competent. You can get a few non-addressed nominals for sure. So when someone asks me that question, it's a very hard answer because I don't know. You can blow a few of them. The less you blow, the better. That's the real answer. Okay, any questions on this one? All right, another important slide, roll. I got to break open these few, then I can pick up speed. We're going to break anyway in a few minutes. Assessing the role. Okay, people look. Every case tells you the role. Okay, they always tell you the role. Now, why does it matter? All right, the most important reason is that I have to play my role. Right here. I've got to play my role to deal with the required. If you think you're the auditor, but that's wrong. You're really the internal auditor. And you answer the question as the external auditor, you're going to mess up some assessment opportunities. You've got to play the role. Now, this is also where we have conflicts. People, I'll talk about that more in the integrated audit session. I don't actually think number 2 is so critical. Again, hopefully nobody here is listening from the Institute. But you know what? I'll tell you why. This is an important point, and I'll explain why I'm going to minimize this point. In a perfect world, you're supposed to know, obviously you're going to know, but in a perfect world, you're supposed to speak in an appropriate language to whoever the recipient is of the report. Fine. You're supposed to speak differently to a partner or to a client. Now, people, look, I'm going to give you my advice, and this is not the advice they would probably agree with from the Institute. My advice is to assume whoever you're speaking to is brain dead, and that applies to partners in external audit firms. That applies to everybody. Just assume that everybody is brain dead, and you need to explain as much as possible. In the worst case scenario, you've wasted a minute or two. The problem is on the other side. If you try to play this game and you say, I'm writing to a partner, I don't have to explain this. They know it. 9 times out of 10, you don't explain enough. And that's a bigger problem, a much bigger problem. So in theory, yes, you can get away with explaining less when you're writing to a partner. You can use technical terms when you're writing to a partner. It's risky. It's very risky. I would not recommend it. So I don't think that's so important. To me, the most important thing here under the role is you have to know your role because that impacts how you answer. And conflicts is also coming up every year at least once. That's, to me, those are the big reasons. Any questions on the role? Everyone okay? Okay, Ryan, I'm not going to get into conflict now. Ryan's asking, what do I mean by conflict? I mean a conflict in the role. I don't even want to get into it now because, to be honest with you, that's going to come up again in the audit session. Okay? So if you're not going to be there, whatever, watch the video, whatever, it's going to come up in the audit session for sure. Actually, it comes up in some cases also, but I don't want to get into it now because, again, it just takes 5 minutes to explain the whole thing. But I mean a conflict in the role. You have to know who you are because there could be a conflict depending on what role you're playing. So, okay, this is a good question. Someone is asking for day 2, we only need to read parts for our role. Does that specify, does it specify on the exam? Absolutely, yes. Of course, on the exam, there's going to be a page and a quarter for assurance role, a page and a quarter for the tax role, for the finance role, and for the performance management role. And you only read yours. And each role is going to have its own exhibit. And you only read that exhibit that is for your role. Babak is saying, okay, what's that? What's that question? If the role of an auditor, audit report, what's that? Of an auditor, can they ask to draft a full audit role? Audit report, no, they will never ask that. They're never going to ask you to draft an audit report. Well, I have to be careful. Well, they're never going to ask you to write an audit report. That's ridiculous. You have the handbook with you. What does that mean? You're going to copy an audit report from the handbook? No. There could be an impact on the audit report. That could be relevant. They won't ask you for that usually. But there could be something impacting the audit report, of course. You could have a qualified audit report. I could, I don't know, I could have an extra paragraph. I could have a, oh God, what's the extra paragraphs? Yeah, one of those extra, I'm out of the audit tonight. You could have one of those extra paragraphs. Oh my God, what do I mean here? Guys, you should know, thank you. Other matters, Jonathan, thank you. You could have another matters paragraph, right, or an emphasis on matter, right. So they could ask you something about an audit report. But no, they're never going to ask you to draft an audit report. They would never do that because you have it in front of you. When you do copy and paste. Okay, any other questions? All good questions. Okay. Well, this one I can go quickly on. Just let me do a couple more, and then I promise you we're going to break. Okay, this goes hand in hand with the role. This is one of those things that has got easier over time. Everybody should be happy. This got easier, okay? There were cases historically where you would read the case and you would not even know what you're doing. Is it an audit? Is it a review? Is it a notice to reader? Is it a special report? What the heck is it? Nowadays, they tell you. They're being much nicer. It's important. It's important. Look at this last point. Yes, it's important. You can mess up a question pretty good if you think it's an audit and it's really a review. That's not good. You're going to give me audit procedures. I want review procedures, or vice versa. So it is important, or first-time audit, repeat audit. That's important. It's just easy because they're giving it to you. It's just a natural thing. You should be picking out every single case. Okay, that goes hand in hand with the rule. Now, this goes hand in hand with the required. I don't think it's so critical to know which competencies. So let me explain what I mean. There's two ways this plays out. Everybody likes number one. Draft an audit planning memo, identify new accounting and auditing issues for the current year's audit. Okay, thank you. Again, people, these are all real examples. All right. Would you all agree with me? I have a minimum one assessment opportunity in accounting, and I have one assessment opportunity in assurance. Minimum one, could be two, could be three, I don't know, minimum one. 100% yes. 100% yes. Every assessment opportunity is a separate competency. And I see here they want accounting, they want assurance. Okay, good. There's two right there, maybe more. The problem is number two. What if they say, discuss relevant considerations regarding the acquisition of ABC Inc.? People, which competency is that in? Don't bother answering. Okay, you're going to write down all six. If I'm buying a company, can't I give you accounting issues? Can't I give you management accounting issues? Maybe transfer pricing between the two companies? What about tax issues? For sure, I'm buying the companies. I buy the assets or the shares. Audit issues. Am I relying on another auditor? How am I going to audit the assets I'm buying? Finance issues. I need money. How am I going to raise money? Governance issues, for sure. You know what's governance? The qualitative pros and cons of buying the company. That's governance. I just went through all six. Let's throw in IT. I'm in a separate competency. What the heck? The computer system. How am I going to mess the computer systems of the company I'm buying versus my company? So, people, what's my point? I have to find out which competencies by looking around the case. I don't know, relevant considerations. I don't know which competency I'm in. Now, people, the goal is at the end of the course, I don't think it should matter to you which one you get. But I will tell you, I'll answer the question in a second. I will tell you, this happens almost every year. After the CFE is written, I get a phone call, and somebody said, we're talking about it, from someone who just wrote. And they tell me, I don't know, in the middle of the conversation, they say something like, yeah, it was a really directed year. I kind of, it was hard, but I knew which issues to go after. 5 minutes later, I get another phone call. The person says to me, oh man, it was so non-directed. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know where to go in the questions. Now, I'm sitting there thinking, did they write the same exam? What's going on? The first person says, very directed. The second person says, very non-directed. I'll tell you what's probably happening. The second person is not a strong candidate as a first. They had required, like, discuss the relevant considerations, and they didn't know where to go. The first candidate's a little stronger. There was a million hints in the question. They didn't really care if they said the word accounting or audit. They knew where to go. The goal is to be number one. The goal is to be like that first candidate who doesn't care. I always notice the difference. I always notice the required where they don't tell me that specifically and I have to go hunting. I'd like to notice it, but it should not really make it much harder. because there's going to be so many hints where you are. Now, people, keep in mind the way they mark this. If you decide you love tax, I know we hated it before, now we love it. If you love tax and you bring in tax in the middle of everything and there's no competency, there's no assessment opportunity for tax, they can't give you any credit for it. They're restricted to the assessment opportunities that are there. Question, would our rule narrow down the competencies here? Okay, 1 second. Only on day 2. People, on day 2, everything I just talked about now was much more for day 3. Because on day 2, the requirements are so directed, and you're choosing your role. Of course it narrows down the competency. You're 100% correct. Davina, you're 100% correct. It totally narrows down the competency. On day 2, you're only going to get financial accounting or management accounting, plus your role. You will not even get the other competencies. So yes, this slide is primarily for day 3. Very good point. Okay, last slide, and then I promise that we're breaking. Make sure. Yes, we're going to break right after this slide. Okay, because I know it's too long. Okay, people, look, this is an important slide. Just stay with me for a couple more minutes, because again, this is a really important slide also. Maybe this is number 2 after the required one. You got to rank. Fine. How do you rank? Yeah, okay, fine. Everybody can see how you rank. Okay, good. All right. People, look, I got a question. And I think everyone's going to know the answer, but I'm not sure everybody knows why. Do I spend the same amount of time on every assessment opportunity? Yes or no? Okay, I'm getting a lot of no's. Amazingly, no one is saying yes. You're all correct. The answer is no. I do not spend the same amount of time on every assessment opportunity. I got a much harder question. Why not? Now, 1 sec before you answer. Why not? Why am I asking why not? Didn't we just go over the marking scheme? Aren't all the assessment opportunities equally weighted? Think about it for a second. They are. Like the first level, they give marks. They're all the same, as far as we know. The second level, I need competent. That's all the same. I don't know. Within financial accounting, you need competent. They're all the same. Management accounting, I need competent. There's no marks. Same thing. My role, I need competent. And the last level, I need region competent. So my question is, which I think is a much harder question, why would I not spend the same amount of time if they're marking them all the same? That's my question. Okay, I have an interesting answer here, and I'm going to focus on that, which I like. It's better to hit as many assessment opportunities than take too long in a few and blow the rest. I like that answer. May end up losing time. I like that answer too. Some could be very brief or quick AO. I like that answer. I'm just reading out the answers, then I'll explain it. Time constraint will limit to key required in depth. That's true. Okay, less important issues don't require as much time. Excellent. Okay. So people, look, I'm going to give you an answer. I'm going to come at this answer in a circular way. I don't know if you'll find this interesting or not, but it's really important. Not that you have to know the history, but listen to this answer. It totally impacts your cases. Trust me when I tell you there's a reason I'm telling you this. The marking scheme that I spent 10 minutes, or God knows how long, 15 minutes going over, that marking scheme is a new marking scheme. It actually started not with the CFE. It actually started around 2003. Okay. What did they do before 2003? They had a marking guide. You know what a marking guide means? They were giving point marks. If you identified the issue, 1 mark. I don't know, if you said this, another mark. If you said this, another thing, another mark. For many years, they didn't even bother disclosing the marking guides. Everybody complained. They said, no, the earth is going to collapse if we have to disclose these. We can't do it. We can't do it. So what, of course, happened is eventually they decided to do it, and nothing happened. Amazingly, the world continued. So fine, they disclosed the marking docs. Guess what was happening? People were beginning to play a game. What was the game? Well, I'm going to focus my time in financial accounting because I love financial accounting. So a person does that, and they get 12 marks. Now, let's say a question, I'll give you an example. This is real. The questions, let's say, we're at 25 marks. A 60-minute question was 25 marks. Okay, fine. So out of 25, let's say a candidate kills financial accounting, and they get 11 marks in financial accounting and 1 mark in tax. 12. Okay. Their friend got 4 marks in financial accounting, 4 marks in tax, and 4 marks in management accounting, and they also got 12. This drove the markers crazy. They don't like the first person. The first person didn't even go after management accounting. They barely touched tax, and they walked away with like 12 marks, the same as the second person. And they had to give it to them. They couldn't say, we don't like you, we're not going to give you the mark. You hit it, it was on the marking key. People, this drove them nuts. So you know what they tried to do? They tried to have maximums, internal maximums, but they never made them high enough. Don't ask me why. I could have fixed this whole system without changing the whole marking scheme like in half an hour. I don't know what the heck they were doing, but they said, okay, we're going to have a new marking scheme. We don't like this. People are playing a game. They're ignoring issues and they're doing well. That's not good. What happens in today's marking scheme? You have 1 assessment opportunity in financial accounting. You have 1 in tax. You have 1 in management accounting. Guess what happens if you spend all your time in financial accounting? That's 1/3. You just blew 2 out of 3. That's like blowing 2/3 of the case. If you only had 3, okay, the cases have more, but let's pretend. That's a killer. This marking scheme is a killer marking scheme for people that spend too long in one area and ignore other areas. Along comes a marking scheme and it says, okay, you want to spend all your time in financial accounting? Go ahead, competent with distinction, whoopee. Not addressed, not addressed. And the other 2, how many marks is that? 4 marks. And what about me? I'll go after all 3. Maybe I'll get 2 competence in a region. How many marks? 10, 4 and 4 and 2. Who does better? That's the difference. People, it's such an important thing for you guys to clue into. That is called ranking. Ranking is time allocation. So now, 1 second, I still haven't answered my question. So how come they're not all equal? I just explained why it's important to hit all the assessment opportunities. But how come they're not all equal? You know what answer they would give? This is less important, but I'll tell you. You know what answer they would give? They would say, look, in real life, when a client gives you an important issue, can you spend 5 minutes on it? Yes. Or can you spend 25 minutes? Yes. So their answer is important issues demand different time. It depends on how critical they are, how much information is available. You have to do prompts. In real life, you spend 5 minutes on some important issues and 25 minutes on another. We mark it equally because that's life. That's real life. You have to do it. It's important. So the message is, yes, ranking is important. Some issues are 5 minutes, some are 20 minutes. But I need to do the 5-minute issue. I have had people, after this whole lecture, after the whole course, I have had people come up to me after they write a case, and they're talking to me about how they did in the case, and the way they describe it makes me totally nervous, and I sit there and say, really? Like, I don't want to be mean, okay? Like, I mean, you know, they're not doing it on purpose. But when someone says to me something like, yeah, the case had a lot of management accounting and finance, so, you know, I spend most of my time in the management accounting. I barely touched the finance, and there was also a little auditing. I barely touched the auditing also. I just spent like 2 minutes. That makes me very nervous. Because you know what that says to me? The person probably blew a finance assessment opportunity. They probably blew an assurance assessment opportunity, and they may have done well on management accounting. But guess what? If there was 5 assessment opportunities and 3 of them were management accounting, that's called doing well on 60%. Now you're in trouble. That is not smart. I don't like that description. That worries me. You want to tell me you spent 5 minutes, a good solid 5 minutes on assurance, but that was it? That's okay. That's okay. As long as you give yourself enough of a chance to get competent, I'm happy. Then I'm happy. But if you tell me 2 minutes, whatever, you know, I really focus my time, you know, on only the really important areas, that's going to be a problem. All right. Somebody has another question, but also linked to elective and depth to allocate time to AOs. Elective and depth to allocate time to AOs. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're asking. Also linked to our elective in depth. Okay, I don't want to get into the comp and the time budget for the comp. People, we're going to do that. We have that in the, if that's what you're getting at, forget it. Don't let me get into that now. Just go with the simple point, which is basically I want time budgets for issues, and that ties into the AOs. And I want enough time in each issue for you to get confident. That's it. But don't have the mentality you can spend your time and make up one issue by spending more time in that issue for other issues. That is a very dangerous mentality that we no longer have. Okay? Yes, Wakar, that's what you're saying. We need to allocate time based on elective and depth topics. Wakar, no. Actually, I don't love the way you're saying that, so be careful with that. Don't allocate. That's not how you allocate time. You allocate time based on the issues in the case, based on these points right here. How critical, how much information, quantitative, that's how you allocate your time. Don't be thinking elective and core. No. This is how you allocate time. I just explained why it's important. Yes, it is important to spend 25 minutes on some issues and 5 minutes on another. Yes, I need you to rank. I need you to determine time allocation. Okay, people, let's take a break. I know there was a huge stretch. Okay, take a 10-minute break. I've got like, oh God, I've got 8:47. Okay, go to 8:57. Take a 10-minute break. I will pause the tape. I need a few minutes to finish off the lecture, and then at least we're going to start the case tonight. Okay, and then we'll continue tomorrow night. Take 10 minutes. Okay, go to 8:57, and then we'll come back. All right, good. Thank you. Let's continue. Thank you very much. Okay, I don't have very much left on the lecture. I just have a few minutes. I want to get through these last few remaining slides, and then I'm going to get you into the case. So, you know, I always go through a couple of things here under other points to consider. Key success factors, I find an interesting one. I want to ask you guys a question. I'll give you the situation, and you tell me the key success factor, okay? Let's pretend that I have a company and I employ the cleaning staff who go into buildings at night and they clean. The way that I get my job, a building puts out like a tender and I bid. That's how I get my jobs. What would be a key success factor for my company? I'd like to get a few of these and then I'm going to comment on them. Okay, I'm just waiting as they're coming in here. Oh, someone wants me to repeat. Okay, I have a cleaning company and I have employees who come into office buildings and they clean in the evening, the office building. And I get my jobs by the office building putting out a tender, and I bid. That's how I get my jobs. I want to know what a key success factor is for my company. Okay, so we will, all right, excellent. So I got a lot of different answers here. I don't know if I read out every single one, but let me just, I'll give you a flavor, and then I'm going to talk, and then I'm going to tell you what my take is on this. Okay, answers. Reputation, successful tender bids, growth, profit margins, quality of service, competence of staff, low margins, accurately knowing your cost of a particular job you're bidding on, highly trained staff and low retention of staff, making successful bids, again, customer satisfaction, quality, pricing, low prices, price, margins are met, how confident we are. Okay, people look. Some of these are really good. Some of them I don't really think are key success factors. Okay, attrition rate. All right, people look. I think there's two key success factors. Number one, I have to price the job low enough to win. It's a bidding situation. So pricing low, to me, is a key success factor. Number two, if I price too low, and somebody said it exactly, which was really good, if I price too low, I'm going to lose money. I'll get the job, but my costs are going to be higher. I'm going to lose money. So what's my key success factor? Number two, I need to be able to predict my costs for the job. So if I know it's going to cost me $80,000 to run the job, I better bid above 80 to have a profit margin. Now, that's it. I really think those are the two key success factors. So what about all the other points? I just read out a whole bunch of them that a bunch of you said. What are those? Quality, I don't know, retention rates. I don't know, I read out a whole bunch of them. Customer satisfaction, making successful bids. Okay, so people look. Let me put on my marketing hat, and I'm going to tell you why I don't think these are key success factors. Look, making successful bids is not specific enough. Making money is not a key success factor. Okay, if that's a key success factor, I guess you could say that for every single company that's ever existed. That is way too general. You need to be more specific than making money, making profits. That's not good enough. But what's wrong with things like quality? I'll tell you the problem. For a key success factor, you've got to narrow in on what's going to make them successful. Now, let's look at quality. Are you telling me quality is so important? Anybody here work in an office? Do you know when you get a new company that comes in, a new cleaning staff? Can you tell the difference in quality? I doubt it. That doesn't mean quality is not important. I still think it's a key success factor. I'll give you a good way of figuring this out. What about, like, I don't know, people are talking about employees. Don't I need employees? Yes. Is that a key success factor? I'd say no. Retention of employees? No. You're going to say to me, but if I lose all my employees, I have no one to do the work. You're right. That's not a key success factor. People, the way to look at key success factors is look at it in a positive, not a negative way. I can take every point that you guys threw in here, and I can flip it, and if it's a problem, I could go bankrupt. That is not a key success factor. If my quality is horrible, and every day you walk into the office and there's garbage all over the table, and you sit there and say, yep, the cleaning staff was in again, I don't think I'm going to have a job too long. That's not a key success factor, because you can't tell the difference in quality on a daily basis. That's not what's making them successful. If it's a problem, yes, they could go bankrupt. That's not how you define a key success factor. That's flipping it around. How about honesty of employees? Well, why is that not a key success factor? Don't you think it's a problem if every day you walk into the office and you sit there and say to your friend, oh, well, there goes my laptop, the cleaning staff was in. Guess they helped themselves to the laptop. How long are they going to be employed? Not too long. Is that a key success factor? No. That's a necessary condition. They have to have honest employees. You're trying to find the key things that make them successful. Now, people, based on what I just said now, I didn't give you my background before, but I was at Ernst & Young for 10 years. When I was at E&Y, I had a client, and this client, all you need to know, they manufactured the arm for the space shuttle. What is a key success factor for that client? In Ontario. They manufactured the arm for the space shuttle. That's all you need to know. What's a key success factor for that client? Okay, I've left people answering now that I've scared everybody. All right, I got a few here. Okay, most of them are good. Technology, that it works in space, excellent. You know what I say? R&D, high tech, yeah, that's the key thing. Now, what about cost control? Like my other company. Can they walk around saying we don't care about cost control? No. Obviously, at some point, if their costs are so out of control, they're not going to get jobs. But the reality is that's not the key success factor. They're not going to live and die based on their costs as long as their costs are controllable and in line. They're going to live and die by their R&D. That's how you look at a key success factor. It doesn't mean their costs can be out of control. Yes, that could affect them down the road. But again, that's flipping it around. Why am I spending 5 minutes on this? A lot of cases, they want you guys to zero in on the key thing that makes the company successful. Don't list a whole laundry list of points. That's not how you go after key success factors. Just look at the key 1 or 2 things that are the critical components to their success. And don't take every point and flip it around and start telling me, well, if we're not honest, if we have no quality, we have no reputation, that gets crazy. Those are not key success factors. All right, any questions? Everyone good? Okay, defining terms, okay, fine. I have nothing really to say here. Okay, fine, I don't have this, I can go quickly, it doesn't really matter. Obviously, you're gonna see how the cases play out. They typically play out 1 or 2 pages up front, and then they have exhibits. Okay, fine. Okay, they're all like that. You'll see that. You'll get used to the format. Okay, let's just finish off. Again, if you have questions, stop me. Let's just finish off with some writing tips. Okay. Now, people, good news on this. I don't think we're at the stage yet where they really count in the marking scheme how you write. In other words, yes, I want you to be professional. Yes, I want you, not to do crazy things. But they don't really mark what I call negative marking, where if you do something wrong, they mark you down. They don't do that. They're not supposed to do that. However, people look, don't do stupid things, okay? Like don't use slang. They do want you to write professionally. That's important. Don't do what a person did in Vancouver in one of the firms we were teaching for. We do the PwC program. As many of you probably know, whatever, we do the PwC program across Canada. I was in Vancouver, I think it was I'm not sure it was PwC, I think it was a PwC person a few years ago. They're writing some exam, not the CFE, and they're not happy at the end of the exam. So they figure they're going to tell the marker what they felt about the exam, and they're not going to be shy. So they go into a whole tirade, okay, on the exam, write about what they felt about the exam. Guess what happens? The next day, okay, the institute faxes the exam to the partner, right, of the student's partner, and says, look what your candidate did on yesterday's exam. People look. Number one, this is not anonymous, okay? You're not writing a blog here, okay, or some anonymous like comment on the internet, okay? They know who you are. You have a student number. They know where you work, okay? So if you do something crazy, aside from the fact this person, by the way, failed the exam, who knows if it was legitimate or not legitimate, who the heck knows, they don't release it anyway, so I don't know how you'd know, but almost lost their job. Just remember, there are live people reading this. So don't do crazy things. Don't tell jokes. You know, I want to get the marker on side. I'll tell a little joke. That's not professional. They may laugh, but that stuff is not good. Just keep it very professional. Okay, that's what they're looking for. Now, the good news is spelling, grammar, punctuation, as far as I know, you're not going to lose anything by it if you make spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes. As long as they can understand your point, you're fine. Obviously, try your best. But don't sit there and waste, 30 seconds because you got to say something in the perfect way. Forget it. All right. Consider issues are integrated. We'll talk about this, okay, after when we get into case writing. I've talked about this. I mentioned this, your full thought process. The way you do that, you think the recipient is brain dead. You must explain everything. And this is also important, questioning management's assumptions. It is important to know the difference between an assumption and a fact. I have examples that are going through my mind right now in real cases from the UP and the CFE, where they criticize candidates for questioning something they shouldn't have, and vice versa. They did not question something they should have. I once had, I don't remember where this was, if it was Ontario or not, there was a tax question, and they were dealing with associated companies, and one company was owned by one person, another company was owned by the guy's aunt. So somebody writes down, is it really his aunt? Now, people look, we're not doing a blood test. I don't know if it's really his aunt. The case said it was his aunt. That is not an assumption, okay? That is ridiculous to question, okay? I don't know. The case says it's his aunt, it's his aunt, okay? Again, we're not doing blood tests to make sure. So that's an example where you get mixed up between an assumption and a fact. Now, these are things not to do. Well, what's worse, contradicting or repeating yourself? Look at the first one. Contradicting or repeating, which one's worse? Yep, everybody always gets this. And you know what? You're all right. Every single person's right. Contradicting. People look. If you repeat, okay, it is what it is, they just keep reading. They don't mark you lower. Our fear is that you get marked lower. You move from competent down to reaching. That's the bad thing. Look, wasting time is not good, but they just keep reading. That's repeating. They don't like contradicting. Contradicting messes you up. For example, if you're telling me a company is really good and you give me all these good things about a company, and then recommendation, don't buy the company. What? You just said it was really good. Why are you recommending not to buy? Why are you contradicting your analysis? I know why. Because maybe you thought the right answer was not to buy the company. Even though you thought it had good points, maybe your numbers are all wrong. You just have a gut feel the right answer is not to buy the company. They hate that. That's playing a game. They don't want you playing a game. Far better to have the wrong conclusion that is consistent with your analysis than having the right conclusion that is inconsistent with your analysis. Again, far better to have the wrong conclusion, but is consistent, than having the right conclusion that is inconsistent. Don't contradict. They don't like it. They don't think it's professional. Just be consistent. Templates. People, they hate them. So I won't spend a lot of time on this. I'll just tell you quickly. An example of a template, and you have to be careful. WIR. Every single person here knows what I'm talking about. WIR, weakness, implication, recommendation. Good. Okay. I got nothing against WIR. I like it as much as you do. All right. What's a template? Well, you know what? If you use WIR every single time, that's a template. They are so confident, the markers, that people are using templates, they say it sometimes now in the solution. They criticize candidates for using templates because they can spot them a mile away. It's not good. People, we don't teach templates. We teach techniques. I know they both start with a T, but they're different words. We teach techniques. A technique, WIR, sure, but only when it makes sense. I got lots of techniques. That's what we're going to do in the non-case writing days. Believe me, I think they're very useful, extremely useful. Okay, that's a technique. No problem. You apply it. That's not a template. Someone wants to know, do we get points based on how accurate our conclusion is or how logical our analysis conclusion is? Okay, again, you got to move. Please get rid of this mentality, do we get points? What points? There's no points. There's not a point mark exam. In order to get competent, you often have to have a conclusion. It doesn't always have to be right, but maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. So the question is, what you're really asking, but I'm going to phrase it differently, is not do we get points. The question is, do I always have to have the right conclusion? No. Are conclusions important? Absolutely. Wait till the next slide or two. Yes. Do I always need them? No one can answer that. Every case could be different, but as a general rule, yes. Hopefully I'm answering what you're kind of asking. I'm just phrasing it a little differently. All right, last thing, people, things are technically correct. People, look, I have to be honest with you. The exam has got more technical over the years. There's two reasons for this. Number one, because of IFRS, because now we have like 2 handbooks. I know it's 2 parts of a handbook or whatever. It's like 2 handbooks. That was a big thing. That was a huge thing. It's gotten more technical. It is what it is. And number two, it's open book. I don't think I'd make it open book if it was up to me. What do you think they do? Raise or lower the standard if it's open book? They raise the standard. Now, having said that, don't get afraid. It doesn't mean you can't say things that are wrong. You can. Everybody does. But I have to admit to you, their patience is a little less than it used to be. If you say something right out of the handbook that contradicts the handbook, they're not going to be so thrilled. They're going to say, and they say this, you had the handbook. They say it's a very snarky comment. I don't love this comment, but they say it. You had the handbook. Why don't you look it up? It doesn't mean you have to be perfect, but it does mean that you do have to be a little careful, and that's why technical is important, and it's more important than it used to be. This exam has got more technical. There is no question. There is no question. But the good news is they've made it easier under the new system. Again, I know I'm being taped here. Maybe that's not smart for me to say that, but it is. I don't know how anyone can deny it. So that's good. So everybody should be happy with that. Okay. To finish this off, conclusions. Somebody was asking about conclusions. Now, what do I mean by constructive? That's my first point. People, look, a constructive recommendation, okay? I sometimes listen to this and you'll understand the point. We mark a case, like we're going to mark your cases. So somebody walks up to me after and they say, you know, the marker did not give me competent because they said I didn't have a conclusion. But I had a conclusion. In fact, I wrote the word conclusion in font 52. I bolded it. I underlined it and I italicized it. How'd they miss it? I had a conclusion. Now, people, look, I'm not saying our markers never miss anything, but it is very possible the person was recommending, let's say, buy a company. They had one good point about the company, and it was a minor point. And then they recommended buy the company. They may not give you credit for that. They may not give you credit for that. It's not constructive. It doesn't flow from the analysis. Nobody in their right mind would buy the company based on that one point, and you're recommending buy the company, forget it. So I'm just saying you don't have to have a perfect analysis, but the conclusion has to flow, and that's what I mean by constructive. Now, there's 3 levels of conclusion. There's concluding on a specific issue, on a required, that's broader, and even on multiple requireds, that's level 3, what we call level 3. All of these could be applicable. We love conclusions. They don't want you sitting on the fence. That's all I'm trying to say here. And the last slide, people, we're going to talk about integration. If you've seen enabling skills on the modules or something like that, fine. We're going to talk about integration, okay? That's not, again, I'm getting into, you'll see when we get into case writing. This is the big picture stuff. The reason this is my last slide is this is the last thing I like to do before I actually start writing my answer when I'm writing a case. I want to integrate, I want to see connections between the issues. That's the last thing I always do. It's not natural, it's big picture. Yes, they're testing it. No, they're not testing it as much as they used to, but it still comes up, it's important. Okay. Any questions, people? I know that took a long time to get through, but there were. I mean, it's good. There was tons of participation, which is great. But that's one of the reasons it took me so long to get through this. I still have to have you do one thing before we break for tonight. Don't kill me. But I gotta do one more thing. Does anyone have any questions on the lecture? Because that really wraps up. I'll probably stop the recording. I'll make another one after. Does anyone have any questions on the lecture? Okay. People, here's what I want you to do. In tab number 5 of your binder, or if you didn't get the binder, I sent this to you. You have the case. The case is called ABBA. It's actually a UFI case, okay? I'm not going to use a CFE case. I don't want to waste one for this. You're not handing it in, okay? We don't have enough to waste. So what I'd like you guys to do is this is the case we're going to be spending whatever time we have left tonight and tomorrow night on. I need you to at least read this thing. I want to give you about 20 minutes. And then I can start, okay, I won't go through the whole thing, but maybe I can start, whatchamacallit, I'll see what time it is, whatever, okay, how much time you need. I want you to read the case and basically start your plan. And this case is about 70 minutes. In real life, what did I say? I said we'll spend about 30%, so that's about 20 minutes. I'd expect you to read the case in 20 minutes and then start writing your answer. I don't want you to write the answer. I want you to read it, pull out, basically do your plan, required issues, salient facts, whatever. Put the plan together, read the case, and then we'll see where we are. Okay, with time. Okay, take 20 minutes. Okay, and I will stop the recording. I've got 9:24. So yeah, the truth is we'll probably end up stopping after that, but I have a few concluding points. Let's go to 9:44. You need 20 minutes. Okay, put the plan together. And then we'll end, okay? 2 more minutes after that, we'll end, okay? Go.